Uh, Very good morning, to you all. Uh, I welcome you again to this online session. And today we shall be doing block 4 of the course ENM 6211, that is Fundamentals of Linguistics and ELT. And as you can see, this particular course, you know, we have moved through blocks 1, 2, 3, and today we shall complete block 4. So think of this like today's lecture as the final piece of puzzle that gives you the complete picture of ELT, this English language teaching. So its nature, uh, sorry, what it needs, and what it is trying to achieve. So next year, pay attention to this lecture so that you understand better what I'm actually trying to share with you all. So let's move on to the roadmap. That is the lecture conference. Today's lecture conference. So these are the things we shall be doing. First, review of previous lecture. That is of block three, and then unit breakdown. That is your unit 16 to 20 of block four, and then learning goals about objectives and outcomes, and interactive discussions and questions, and then summary and conclusion. All right. So these are the roadmap of today's lecture. Now let's do a brief review or revisit. Okay. So now before we move into the new content, that is block four. So you know ask, not only me, ask to take few minutes to revisit what we have covered in block three. This is always a good practice in academic study. Looking back, helps us understand where we are going. And for many of you, this review will also help you connect the dots between what you already know and what we are about to learn today. So in block three, our central focus was the role of English within within India's unique social, cultural, and educational landscape. And we also analyzed language policy, right? Meaning the decisions made by the governments and institutions about which language to use and how. So we saw how English functions uh, very differently in different sectors. Okay, for example, the way English is used in science and technology, and it is very different from how it is used in rural school, especially like in Tripura, right? So in rural areas, why is it Tripura? It is just focusing on Tripura. All right. So that you're familiar with the places. So we also examine the challenges and opportunities that come from India's multilingualism. So on the other hand, having many languages can make English teaching complicated. So on the other hand, on one hand, I'm saying that is having many languages can make English teaching um, complicated. However, on the other hand, multilingual students are often better language learners because they are already used to switching between languages. So, block three uh, gave us the context. Block four now gives us the action. It will tell us how PLT should be planned, delivered, and evaluated within this this complex context. Okay, so now next is the structure, the block 4 structure, that is the unit background. Okay, so what do we have here? This is the structure from unit 16 to 20. So first we have in the unit 16 instructional planning, and then in unit 17 we have level wise ELT. Then it deals with professional status. In unit 19 deals with case studies. There is ELT planning analysis in relations to L1. L1 stands for language 1, language 2, and mother tongue. And unit 20 deals with functional status, the diverse roles of English across different Indian states. So this is the structure of Block 4 from unit 16 to unit 20. Okay, so now let's move on to the next. That is on like objectives and outcomes. That is learning goals. Our learning goals of today's one. So this is the learning goals. As you can see here, first it deals with what? The first objective is to master the nature and core objectives of ELT. And then the second objective is to analyze systematic what? Instructional and I have written twice here. Let me just sorry. There's a small mistake here. That is analyze systematic is instructional. Yeah, now it is fine. Yes, it is fine now. So to analyze, systematic instructional, planning techniques, and to examine, level specific teaching strategies. Okay, and then evaluate societal and professional challenge in ELT. So these are the objectives that we shall be discussing, the main objectives of today's discussion. Okay, and then what are the outcomes? You'll be able to see the first outcome is you'll be able to design effective, level, appropriate teaching, plans, and you'll be able to make critical assessments of ELT problems in the Indian context. Application of uh, theoretical knowledge to real world classroom. I don't know what is wrong with here. Why it is showing like this? It is totally fine. Okay, now it is fine. And the last uh, outcome, the second outcome is what critical assessment of ELT problems in the Indian context. And the third one is application. You'll be able to apply. There is there is theoretical knowledge to real world classrooms. So these are the objectives and outcomes. Okay. So be focused. Now let's move on to the actual discussion. That is unit 16. So now, so this is the first unit of Block 4. There is 16. Unit 16. This unit is about instructional planning, and I want you to understand from the very beginning why this matters so much. Imagine you're a teacher on your first day of class. So you walk into the room, and your students are looking at you and waiting. What do? Do you simply open a book, open and then start reading, or do you have a plan, a clear, a clear, structured, like a systematic plan that tells you exactly what you're going to teach, or how you want to teach it, and how you will know if your students have learned it. So that second approach is what instructional planning is all about. So this slide shows as a very important process, that is uh, objectives, content, methods, and evaluations. So let me explain each of these in a simple terms. So first, objectives. You begin by asking, what do I want my students to be able to do by the end of this lesson? So these objectives, must be clear and measurable. So second, that is the content. Once you know your objectives, you select the content that will help you achieve what? It will help you achieve them. And third, methods. That is methods. So as you can see here. So you then choose how you will deliver that content. Or will you lecture? Will you do group activities? Or will you use audio materials? And finally, evaluation. You assess whether the students have actually achieved the objectives. So this is not just like the final exam or something like that. No, it includes ongoing. There is a formative assessments throughout the lesson. Okay, so then now the central concept in this unit is what is it? LS sorry LSRW. What is this? Learning, speaking, reading, and writing. So these are the four core language skills, and a good ELT lesson plan. That should be aimed to develop all four, not just one or two. Like for example, a lesson on teaching tenses might begin with with the teacher speaking and students listening. Uh, then move to reading, example sentences, and finally require students to write their own sentences. So this is the thing. Now, so this slide also shows what that is, what is it? That instructional, planning must address global communications. I mean, global communication needs, as well as academic demands. So this is very relevant in today's world where students, need English not just to pass exams, but to work, communicate, and compete globally. So as as you will all be, even in future you'll be teacher, right? As future teachers on or like language practitioners, you must design lessons that are meaningful, self-focused, and aligned with real world purposes. Okay, so this is all about Unit 16, that is systematic, instructional planning in English language teaching. Okay, now let's move on to the Unit 17. That is adapting ELT to learner development levels. So this brings us to a question that every language teacher must ask. Who are my students? What do they need at this particular stage of their development? This unit is called level-wise ELT. So it explores how English language teachings must be different at the primary, secondary and tertiary levels. So let me begin with the primary level. At this level, students are young, typically between 6 and 12 years old. Their brains are still developing, and they learn best through play, songs, stories, and activities. At the level at the primary level, the focus is on building basic vocabulary, simple sentence structures, like and oral fluency. So children at this, age are not embarrassed to make mistakes. And that is actually an advantage. That the teacher should create a warm and encouragement. Encouragement environment where children feel safe to speak and try new things. So activity-based learning is the most effective approach in here. So confidence building is also very important. If a child is made to feel ashamed of their mistakes, they may develop a fear of English that lasts, for years. Okay. So now let's move on to the just a minute. So now let's move on to the secondary level. By this time, students are teenager, roughly between 13 and 17 years old. Their cognitive activities have developed and they can now handle more grammar instructions. This focus, shift to comprehension, writing, and accuracy. So students at this level began reading more complex texts, including literary pieces or works, right? There is an is introduction to structured writing like essays, paragraphs, and formal letters. The learning environment becomes more uh, structured and systematic. So finally, the tertiary level refers to higher education, colleges, and universities. So this is the level that most of you, as MA students are at right now. At this level, the focus is on critical thinking, academic writing, and uh, research skills and professional communications. So students must be able to analyze a text, construct arguments, write research papers, and communicate effectively in academic and professional contexts. So the core insight from this unit is something we must all remember. Teaching must evolve as learners grow. A method that works beautifully for a 6 years old will not work for a 20 years old, and vice versa. And effective, ELT is always considered to be a maturity and cognitive development of the learner. Okay, it's all about Unit 17. Now let's move to the Unit 18. So Unit 18 deals with a topic that is related, closely close to the, not closely, close to the reality of English teaching in India, the role and status of English in higher education, and the serious problems that come with it. So the slide uses, this slide uses the phrase like roles and like something like right, roadblocks, and I think that captures it very well. So English clearly plays a major role in it in Indian higher education. So, but there are very significant roadblocks that make its effective teaching extremely difficult. So let us start with the role. So English hold a dominant and prestigious position in Indian higher education. It is the primary medium of instruction in most sciences, technology, administrations, law, and medicine. So research papers are written in English. International conferences are conducted in English. If a student wants to access the global academic resources, textbooks, journals, online courses, they need English. And if a professional wants to advance in their career in IT, banking, government, business, so English proficiency is often a negotiable required. So the role of English is not just important; it is in many ways indispensable. Okay, so now let us talk about the roadblocks. What is it? To be honest. So the first and perhaps most critical challenge is the shortage of trained ELT professional. Many people who teach English in India have a degree in English literature, but have never been formally trained in how to teach language. This is a significant problem. Teaching literature and teaching language are very different skills. So the second challenge is infrastructure. Many colleges, universities in India, especially in rural areas, have overcrowded classrooms. Sometimes the 50 or 60, or even more, right? Because of that. So the third challenge is mother tongue interference. It happens with me. It happens with everybody, right? When students speaks a different language at home, Hindi, Bengali, Tripuri, Tamil, whatever it is, or any of the hundred of the languages in India, whatever. So their mother tongue naturally influences the way they speak and write English. So this leads to persistent grammatical errors, pronunciation problems, and sometimes a lack of confidence. It happens with me. I mean, it happens with me too, because of that mother tongue influence. And finally, since English is not our our mother tongue, that's why it happens like that. So and finally, there is the problem for standardization. Not all colleges have access to modern teaching aids, digital resources, or standardized textbooks. So the quality of ELT, therefore, varies enormously from one institution to another. So from one state to another. So as a student of English, you are not part of solution to these problems. Understanding these challenges is the first step toward addressing them. Okay. So this is all about English in higher education, like the roles and roadblocks. Okay. Now let's move on to the unit 19. What is it? So unit 19 takes us into the world of language planning and the relationship between students' mother tongue. Their first language and English, and their first language and English as a second language. So this is a topic of practical importance for anyone who wants to teach or study language in India. So let us first clarify some terminology, some terms, right? Like the term mother tongue or MT refers to the language a person learns at home, the language they grew up speaking with their family members. Like so, in linguistics, it is called it is also called L1. I think I have already mentioned this L1 when I started to show you the lecture contents, today's lecture contents, right? Or first language, either L1 or first language. In India, this might be Bengali, Borok, Hindi, Mizo, Darkli, whatever, Malayalam, or anything. So, any other languages, okay? The term L2 or second language refers to a language that is learned after the first language. And in India, that is all in India, within your place. So, English is typically the second language for most learners, right? So, now as you can see here on the slide, it tells us something very important from the research. Right? Students who have a strong foundation in their mother tongue tend to be more successful at learning English. This might seem surprising at first. Why would learn English? The answer lies in how language learning works. Develops literacy, thinking skills, and communication abilities in one language. These skills transfer to the new language they are learning. A student who can read and write fluent in Bengali, for example, already understands what it means to read, to structure sentences, to express ideas in writing. These skills support English learning. So the second insight from the here is that, as you can see, that is a bilingual strategy. Research in language education consistently shows that when teachers use students' mother tongue, strategically, not I mean not all the time, but at key moments, it helps students understand difficult concepts better. So if a student is confused about the concept of past perfect tense, like a brief explanation in their mother tongue can clarify the concept. And then the students can use that understanding to engage with English. This is what we mean by bilingual teaching. And the third point is about psychological impact. Many students in India feel anxious about speaking English. They are afraid of making mistakes, afraid of being judged. When teachers use the mother tongue to bridge gaps, it reduces this anxiety. Students feel understood, supported, and more confident. And confident students learn much, faster. So the core, message of this particular unit, that is Unit 19, is do not treat the mother tongue as an obstacle to English learning. Okay, so treat it as a resource. A student's linguistic background is not a problem to overcome, Okay, so instead it is a foundation to build upon. That is the message of this unit 19. All right. So now let's move on to the last unit of this block, that is unit 20. That is the diverse landscape of India across, not like that. The diverse landscape of what? English across India. Okay. So this unit actually zooms out and give us the complete picture, like big picture. Okay. So it asks, how is English actually used across different parts of India? And the answer, as this slide makes, as I prepare here, makes it very clear. Is that like that role of English is not same everywhere. No, it cannot be same everywhere. Right? It varies enormously depending on the political, social, economic context of each state. So now let us look at like four regions here. Here I have prepared four regions, right? Four regions that I highlighted here. So first, that is West Bengal. In West Bengal, there is a relatively balanced integration of English alongside Bengali, the dominant regional language. So English is important, but it coexists with Bengali in education, administration, and daily life. So the relationship between two languages is generally one of cooperation rather than competition. The second, that is Karnataka, and particularly Bangalore, which is now it's normally Bengaluru. I'm not sure of the bit of pronunciation. Bengaluru, right? So here there is a very high demand for English, driven primarily by the information technology, right? Technology sector. So Bengaluru is the so sorry for the pronunciation. Bengaluru is the tech capital of India, home to thousands of multinational companies. So English is actually essential for professionals such as this environment. So the demand for English is not just academic; it is directly tied to economic opportunity. Like Tamil Nadu. Here, English has a very interesting and sometimes, politically charged role. Tamil Nadu has historically, been a state. Has historically been a state, where the Tamil language faced strong resistance. And English has often been used as a neutral language, a language that allows people from different linguistic backgrounds to communicate without one group feeling that another language is being imposed on them. So, uh, in Tamil Nadu, English has a specific socio-political significance that is quite different from other states. And finally, we have North Indian states like okay, there was a small a small network error. So now let me repeat this unit again. Unit uh,